We're heading to the home stretch here, and we like to cap off with something we call magic mirror. And it's not a scientifically proven psychometric test of any sort, but it's just to get to know you a little bit better. And so we've got a set of 15 questions. It's meant to be rapid fire, whatever comes to the top of your mind. And we'll start with something aviation. Your favorite aircraft, civilian, military, current, or historical?
So I'm not very good in type of aircraft, but I would say anything with Embraer because I love smaller aircraft. I feel that when you're on a smaller aircraft, you actually feel like you're flying. So I have a particular fondness for Embraer.
Yeah, it's more personal for sure. And again, when you look back at JFK, and I had the good chance of spending some time at the TWA terminal and looking back in time and you see the old Constellation on display there. And I got to meet your CEO Roel during that period as well. And it was literally like stepping back in time into that old terminal. And you look at that airplane and you go, that's when airplanes and aviation it was still chic and it was still novel. And sometimes you feel like it's been commoditized now, right? Good thing in this part of Canada, there's still lots of routes that have smaller airplanes, so you get that more personal taste. How about apples and oranges? Your
Apples.
favorite? Apples, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
I knew that. And flat or sparkling?
Very much sparkling.
Yes, I knew that answer as well. This one I don't know. Preference for cats or dogs?
Dogs, but more specifically, my beagle, Dia.
Okay. And scariest animal?
Cockroach.
Cockroach. Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
I'm very scared of them,
Mine.
particularly when you travel in Asia, like in Malaysia. I've seen one of the cockroaches that probably had the size of my hand. It can be
Yeah.
very
Well,
big.
you know my wife Sally, and she can be quite expressive. And she stepped on a dead cockroach in Jamaica once. I thought there was a murderer in the house. Like, oh my God! Thank God it was dead. But yeah, I agree. Cockroaches are not warm and cuddly. That's for sure. Favorite classic car?
Porsche Cayman.
Yes, very nice. Famous person, living or dead, that you'd like to have dinner with? That's always an interesting question to ask.
Alive, Hillary Clinton. She still very much inspires me.
Okay. Yeah, that would be an interesting conversation, and it might be one of those you want to just keep on talking for sure.
I agree.
Greatest fear?
Well, still today, public speaking, but I work on it.
Okay, well you're doing fantastic here, and there's only literally hundreds of thousands of people listening, right? I, we're still working on the subscribers, but we're getting close. Favorite dessert?
Any pastry with coffee.
Okay, and earliest memory?
I'm not sure I remember the earlier, but there's one that I often quote. I wrote my first check when I was 5 at a restaurant, and it was interesting because I remember the emotion that I felt when my uncle, at the end of the meal that we had just went, him and I, for lunch, and he asked when the check came and the waiter asked to pay.
Yeah, yeah.
My uncle said she'll be paying, and he handed off his checkbook, and so I wrote with my right top
Uh,
of a 5-year-old
yeah,
the amount that needed to be imputed. So yeah, I remember that fondly.
well, that's fantastic. Just getting you ready for your future career. So that's perfect, right? Here's a technology one. What's the most used app on your phone, excluding WhatsApp or Outlook?
Instagram.
Yeah, okay.
I'm a visual
I've
person.
Yeah, I've managed to keep away from that, but my wife tends to keep me informed of what I need to know in that regard. So, how about favorite movie of all time?
Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Of
Audrey
course, of course.
Hepburn,
Yeah,
the one
yeah,
and only.
yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's a good one for many people's lists. Now, here's a tricky one. You only get to listen to one song for the rest of your life. What is it?
Feel Good by Gorillaz.
Be careful because if it could drive you mad, so I think that one's safe, right? Okay. I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 100, and it has a relevance to what we talked about today.
I was going to say 7
What's the relevance to 7?
because in 2007 I went to Jordan.
Okay. Well, it was close. It was 10 because it is now 10 million passengers. But
Oh, wow.
yeah, but only 2 people have got it right so far, and that's even quite exceptional. I never expected anybody to get it right, but that was close. You were within 3. That's perfect. So you talked about being a bit of a traveler. What's the favorite place you visited so far, and what's your top bucket list destination?
Mexico City. I love the energy, the culture, the vibrance of this city. And I worked as a consultant for a few weeks in that project of the airport that unfortunately never opened. But I still love very much that city.
It's such a vibrant place, and the food scene, and just everybody thinks they know Mexico because of what they read on the or hear on the news, but Mexico City is something else, right? Yeah,
It is. And,
yeah,
it was surprising to me how many actually people speak French in Mexico City.
yeah. Well, it's very cosmopolitan, right? That's the whole point of these big cities. And what about the place you need to see?
Hmm. Good question. Argentina, because of the wine.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, didn't they used to call it the Paris of the Americas, right? So you come by that honestly. That's perfect. Okay, this is the final stretch. Your personal mantra in 10 words or less.
Don't prioritize efficiency over effectiveness.
Sometimes we get a little bit obsessed with perfection too, right? Keep it simple and make it work.